Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Today's topic is mental health. Before we get started, just a couple of the normal items to take care of. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation, and you can type those in by clicking the Q&A section in the lower portion of your control panel. We will be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you would like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. And if your question does not get answered today or anything else comes up, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, so what is the plan for today? We will start with an overview of mental health, talk a little bit about why it matters so much, and then we'll go over some realistic things that you can incorporate into your daily life to help be mentally healthier. So pretty simple. So let's start with the basics. What do I mean when I say mental health? I mean the overall picture of our emotional, our psychological, and our social well-being. Mental health affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act, right? Good mental health means effective functioning in our daily activities. If we take care of our mental health, it can positively affect almost every aspect of our lives, right? It helps us deal with stress. It helps our physical health. It helps our relationships, our productivity at work, our overall sense of purpose and potential in our lives. It helps us adapt. It helps us change and cope with adversity. I think of the term resiliency when I think of that last bullet point, but everything is so important, right? Like I said, it affects every aspect of our lives. But when we think of mental health, it's not as easy to measure as, like, say, our physical health, right? We can measure blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, all of those things to give us a picture of our general physical health, right? Mental health does affect our physical health in many ways, but it's not that black and white, right? We don't have necessarily ranges that we can say, okay, I'm healthy. So we just need to be a little bit more mindful. A couple ways that you can keep tabs on your mental well-being that I want you to think about is tracking it, just like you would any other aspect of your health. You track how many steps you take per day, right? You track your nutrition if you're working on something there. And you can track your mental health by journaling a bit each day, just to kind of get a pulse on your emotions, how you're feeling. Or to keep it even more simple, at least right away, you can give yourself a ranking each day from, say, 1 to 10. 10 being you're feeling on top of the world. It's been a great day. 1 being obviously kind of the opposite, right? Nothing's going to go your way and you're feeling pretty crummy that day. So what you do with that data then, you keep track of those trends, whether it be with your journal, if you find yourself journaling a little more negative or a little more positive, or that ranking, see if you can spot the source of those not so good days, and then have an ultimate goal for the overall average of that ranking to increase, right? So there are ways that we can keep tabs on our mental health. Those are just a couple different options. Now, a couple things to keep in mind before we kind of dive into, daily habits and strategies and things like that. Just some things to keep in mind as you pay more attention overall to your mental health. First, even if you have great habits with your mental health, you're still going to have bad days, right? Mentally healthy people understand this and know that it's not about preventing negative emotions per se. It's about working through them in a positive way and overcoming them and not letting it become a pattern. Same thing with our physical health, right? We don't have to be perfect every day to be physically healthy. We can walk or run every other day and still do good. It's about those patterns and the long-term trends that we see. The next thing I want you to keep in mind has to do with mental health versus mental illness. There's been a stigma around mental health for a long time, right? I mean, we all know it. This past year showed a lot of people how important it is to focus more on our mental health. More people are opening up and shedding light on it and talking about it. We still have a long ways to go, but we're doing better. But a lot of times, mental health and mental illness get talked about as if they're the same thing. They are absolutely not. So think of it this way. If you exercise daily and you have good habits with your physical health, You'd say you have good physical health, right? Now, if you practice good stress management and mental health techniques and have good daily habits, then you have good mental health as well. Physical health and mental health can change over time depending on those habits and those good or bad things that we're doing. But let's say that you get some sort of physical illness, something that comes on suddenly, you just don't feel right. Try to relax for a few days, see if it will pass, but it doesn't. And maybe you start to feel worse physically. What's the next step? Majority of us are going to call our doctor, right? We're going to set up an appointment and say, this hurts. You're going to see that doctor. Your doctor's going to help you figure out what it is. Your doctor may prescribe you some medication that you may have to take as symptoms come up, maybe long-term, maybe short-term, and you're all set. No big deal, right? You still consider your overall physical health good, right? You just have to manage this illness as needed. Now, think of someone, maybe yourself, who manages their stress well, you feel good most days, and you're doing overall very well mentally. Now, think of something, same thing. Something comes up suddenly, you just don't feel right. You can't seem to get out of that funk of feeling down. You try and, quote, power through or snap out of it. I hear that a lot to see if it will pass, but it doesn't. And again, maybe you start to feel worse. What's the next step? Now, if you follow the pattern, it should be to call your doctor and get an appointment, right? But unfortunately, because of this stigma with mental health, this never happens for a lot of people. This is what we need to change. Just because it's not as easy to pinpoint as a physical ailment doesn't mean we shouldn't treat it just the same. And let's say you go to the doctor, you talk to a therapist, you possibly get some medication for symptoms as needed, whether short-term or long-term, and you still practice all the good mental health habits you had before. You still have good mental health overall. You just have to manage the illness as needed. Same exact thing as that physical side. We need to continue to break the stigma. It's going to lead to better lives for a lot of people. So I just kind of wanted to get that out because, again, there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of stigma, a lot of hesitancy when we talk about mental health, and then on the same side, mental illness in general too. So we'll talk more about when it may be time to see a mental health professional in just a bit, but let's switch gears and talk more about the daily habits you can incorporate to help keep yourself mentally in shape. First is finding the positives. This is easy when you're in a good mood, right? When things are going your way, it's easy to find the positives in life. It can take a little bit of practice when you're stressed, right? It's not quite as easy, but it's absolutely worth it. So taking a second when you're feeling that negativity, try to kind of swallow you up to find a positive can help bring you back to a more positive mindset. Doesn't have to be anything huge, just something good in your day, something you're grateful for, or something you're looking forward to. Another term used in this situation is positive self-talk. So instead of focusing on just a positive thought, you focus on a positive message to yourself. Instead of saying, oh, man, I messed that up, you say, I'll try again in a different way, right? Think of a time when you've talked to your significant other, your kids, your best friend, your coworker when they had a bad day. Take a minute to think about maybe a time when you were talking to them. What did you say to encourage them? You're probably a lot more positive, right? You helped them. You have helped them look at the good things that were going on. You had a pretty positive message, I'll bet, right? Then what I want you to do is I want you to take that type of language and I want you to use it on yourself too. We tend to be harder on ourselves than anyone else, right? So use some of those supportive words on yourself as well. So again, like I said, think of a recent time where you were maybe hard on yourself and maybe you weren't so kind with your internal thoughts. If you run across that same situation again, what could you say to yourself instead? Write it down even if you want to, so it can remind your brain to be nicer to yourself in the future. The next tip, which kind of goes along with that, is really to surround yourself with positive people. Make sure those in your life are positive, supportive people that you can depend on to give you helpful advice and feedback. As we all probably know or have experienced, negative people can increase our stress levels and can bring us down mentally, right? Energy vampires is a term that I've read, and it's pretty appropriate for those types of people in a lot of situations. Now, I understand you're not going to be able to avoid these types of people all the time, but you can do your best to limit contact in some cases. Or what you can do too is practice some positive self-talk or other positive stress management techniques afterwards, and then increase your contact with those that bring you joy, right? There's always ways that we can help in those situations. And then just smile and laugh. There's a reason that funny and cute memes and animal gifs and stuff are so popular, right? They make us smile and they make us laugh. And we feel good when we do those things. It physically helps lower stress hormones. It helps ease anxiety. It improves our mood and helps shift our perspective in a more positive way. So have some items in what I call your stress toolbox, which is just a fancy term for just strategies to make you feel better if you're not having a good day, or things just to practice even when you are having a good time, a good day, because it helps just to incorporate those things, right? Have things in there that make you smile and laugh. So for example, having a funny movie or a show you like to watch ready to go for an evening to make you smile. Looking at pictures of family members, pets, friends, any other reminders that bring back positive memories or feelings that can help bring on that calming and positive effect overall. I could tell a bunch of corny dad jokes, as they're called right now, but I'd be able to feel the eye rolls, and I don't want that negativity in my life, right? So we're going to move on. The last tip I have when it comes to being positive is to accept. So I specifically mean accepting things that are outside of our control. You can't control everything that happens no matter how much you want to, right? Those type A people are like, yes, I would love to do that, right? Now, this is hard to accept sometimes, but strategies to help with this is to practice on focusing what you can control, which is typically the biggest part is how you react to things that come up and what you choose to focus your energy on. And again, this takes practice. It's not easy, but look for the positives in your situation, like I already mentioned, and then get your feelings out to someone you feel safe talking to, right? So just focus on what you can control, which a lot of times is your internal reaction and where you can focus your energy. Then the next tip I have is to build on those positive thoughts and create an attitude of gratitude. Research from UC Davis found that those who worked daily on their gratitude reduced cortisol levels, which is a hormone released when you're stressed, by 23%. And then, which makes sense, they experienced improved mood, improved energy, and less anxiety overall. Now, an attitude of gratitude is simply taking time to focus on those positive things, especially when you're experiencing negative thoughts. I like to recommend to people I talk with to make a part of their day that can typically be stressful an opportunity to practice gratefulness and to find a positive, like waiting in line or traffic, whatever it may be. Instead of getting annoyed in that situation, try to stop those thoughts or distract yourself with thinking about something you're grateful for. Or you can use other times that are just consistent in your day to do what we call habit stacking. So something that's already consistent, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, your commute if you're going to work. Use times like that to intentionally focus on what you're grateful for. And again, if you use other times that you're already doing, it can be easier to create that habit if we do that habit stacking. A fantastic time to work on practicing gratitude is during exercise, right? With the feel-good hormones that you're releasing every time you exercise, it should be easy to work on gratitude at that time, right? So something to think about. You can also add in a gratefulness journaling session a few times per week and actually physically note the things you're grateful for. This can be pen and paper, or there's electronic journals. We have one on the My Health Check app, or a note on your phone app, something like that. But mindfulness that includes being grateful, it really does change the way our brain works. When we start to focus on the positive more regularly, our brain will start to automatically notice and seek out more positive things. It's how it works. Again, it's going to take practice. It does. But I can say with a high level of certainty that if you start to practice gratefulness, you're going to notice it more. You're going to find more positive in your life. So what I want to do right now is I want to actually give journaling a really quick try. So if you have a pen and paper handy, go ahead and grab it. Otherwise, you can use your computer, you can use your phone. Like I said, if you don't have any of those options right now, just go ahead and simply mental journal for now. So just think about things. What I want you to do is I want you to think about people, places, things that you're grateful for in your life. Write down as many as you want. Just start to brainstorm those good things that are going on right now. And then what you can do is write down a couple things that you're grateful for today specifically. So I'll give you a minute just to kind of think and write, but try to be specific if you can. It actually helps your brain feel the positivity better. So, for example, instead of saying that I'm grateful for the weather today, it's beautiful, it's sunny, maybe I can say I'm grateful for how beautiful that sun looks peeking through the white puffy clouds right now. And don't worry about being corny like I just was. It does help. Again, it gets you into it a little bit more and really feel that positivity and that gratefulness. And then if anyone wants to share what they're grateful for, I would love that. If you want to go ahead and put it in the Q&A box, and we can see all the positives that you all have going on in your life right now. It can be your overall gratefulness or for today. Sunshine. Yep, just like me. Grateful for that sunshine. XM radio. Ooh, I like that. Absolutely. And then talking about something in your stress toolbox, right? To have that helps you. Music is huge when it helps to listening with your mood and stuff, right? Friends. Ability to work from home sometimes. I like it. Oh, your daughter. Wonderful. Who's a wonderful teacher. I love that. Family, dogs, pets are huge, right? When it comes to mental health, there's studies that prove that. Good health, there we go. That's what I was waiting to hear. Someone saying good health. Family harmony, family, lots of family and pets, grandkids, my lawnmower. Oh, I like it. That's a good one. I can hear my neighbor's lawnmower right now. So grateful to be able to keep our lawns nice. The sun. Oh, I like this one. Grateful for the smile of my son's face when he received a gift from his aunt today. There it is. That's very specific. And that's something that we don't necessarily think about, right? Or we think about it in that second, and then we move on. So something to think about too is, having the ability to look back at those things that you journal, those things that you're grateful for, right? Even if you're having a bad day, it's something that if you can look back and say, oh, that's right, that day was, I was happy and that was a good memory, and it brings back those positive things. It can give you perspective on life as well. It can help you sleep better if you think about those positives before bed. It can lower your body's physical stress response. It can make you more self-aware as you kind of connect with your thoughts. And you can go back, like I said, you can go back and read those positive things when you're having a not so great day. Thank you so much for sharing. I love all those things. So keep thinking of those, but I've got to move on because we do have limited time. But I did want to share one last note before I move on to a couple more strategies. Having a positive outlook, having an attitude of gratitude. I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but it's not about not having a bad day or ignoring negative thoughts or trying to bury them, right? We need to work through tough times and we need to reach out for help as needed. But what gratitude and looking for positives can do is it can give you hope, right? Even if it's the tiniest thing to be grateful for, your lawnmower, a stick of gum, a comfy chair, you can still find something positive in every day. And then having the support of not only others around you, but again, of yourself, when you treat yourself better with more positive self-talk and focusing on the good, it helps keep you in that positive mindset, even if you may be working through some really tough times. Again, this past year, we know that it was tough, but just think about that moving forward. If you can work on those daily habits, looking for the good, it can help. All right, and then I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on this, but strategy number, however many I'm on, practicing healthy habits on the physical side. Mental and physical health are and always will be intertwined, right? When we take care of ourselves physically, it helps our mind function better. Eating well, getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep are extremely important for mental health. You can think about some examples with yourself, right? Think about when you've had a bad night's sleep for whatever reason. It can be pretty challenging to be in a good mental space the next day sometimes, right? And then whether you realize it or not, when you don't eat nutritious foods or get enough activity in, it affects your mood and your mental health. I would love to spend many webinars on this, and we have before, but I would keep you too long. So visit our blog that will be shown at the end to find webinars for that physical health. But again, don't forget about that side because they affect each other. All right, next is meditation and breathing exercises. So again, when we're talking about daily habits that you can easily incorporate, these are both fantastic and they have a really big positive effect on our mental health. So just as kind of an overview, meditation is a strategy really just to bring an awareness to our thoughts, to help calm our mind a little bit, because we know a lot of us are going a million miles per minute. You can listen to a recording of guided meditations, which help direct your focus, but you can do it on your own as well. It's as simple as sitting and breathing and experiencing, again, just being in that moment. Noticing your breath, noticing what's around you, but just being in that moment. Again, the goal is to slow things down a little bit. Is to take a second and to focus on our own mind, not everything that's going on around us, all those other thoughts, all those external cues. And again, it can be just that. It can be a second or a minute. It doesn't have to be an hour to have a positive effect. What this does, again, it's calming our mind. So it helps lead to positive changes in how we think, which can help us physically. It helps how we respond to stressors and adversity because we're able to get ourselves in a more calm frame of mind. If we can work on not reacting immediately to every stimulus around us, it can be easier to respond rather than to react, which is typically with emotion, right, to situations, giving us a clearer head. Not that we don't want to have emotion, but we want to be able to stop and react appropriately. It can give us a clearer head, more confidence in our decisions and our actions, and just increase that mental wellness, right? I'm going to include a link to some guided meditations that Health Check has created on the blog post for this webinar recording. And I encourage you to look at those or do your own searching because there are many great resources out there as far as meditations. And then a lot of meditations focus on breathing. I kind of talked about it as I was talking about those. Breathing is a main component for a lot of them. And that's my next tip. So again, similar to meditation, the goal is to physically slow down our breathing so that our body relaxes. And within that physical relaxation, we're able to pay attention to our own bodies, be mindful of the way it feels when we're more relaxed. And like I said, meditations can guide you through that. You don't need a guide though, which is why it's such a great and easy tool. There are a couple different ways to practice breathing. So I'm going to go through these to give you some options. One way is to just simply sit quietly and just pay attention to your breathing. You don't have to change it, just simply observe and pay attention to it. So what this does is it basically ends up being a simple meditation. The goal again for this is to bring our scattered thoughts that have 1,000 different things to one simple thought, and that's our breathing, which calms us down, which brings us in the moment, which can really clear our head. Other techniques for deeper breathing have you change the speed and kind of the type of your breath. One type is abdominal or diaphragmatic breathing. So what you do with this is just, well, I want you to actually try this. Take a second and stop and just pay attention to how you're breathing right now. Is your chest expanding a little bit more, or is it your stomach area moving a little bit more? A lot of us do that chest or thoracic breathing where we're just filling up that upper part. And so only that chest is moving. This is also the typical type of breathing when we're stressed. It tends to be more shallow, more quick. When we practice abdominal breathing, which moves that belly, we get a fuller dose of oxygen and it helps deliver it better to our body and our brain, and it can just help overall. A good way to know if you're breathing that optimal way is to place one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest, and then breathe in nice and deep, and then try to focus on moving your hand that's on your stomach a little bit more. They're both going to move, but mostly that stomach move a little bit more. So that, again, that just gets you a deeper breath, and it typically takes a little bit longer. So you slow down and all that good stuff. Box breathing is another type of breathing that can help focus our mind. This is also known as 4 square breathing. It's really simple. All you do is you inhale for a count of 4, you hold your breath for a count of 4, you exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold the exhale for 4. Makes sense with the name, right? Box breathing, 4 square. Another similar type of breathing is called 4-7-8 breathing. With this one, you inhale for this same count of 4, but this one you hold your breath for a little bit longer. You hold it for 7, and then you exhale, fully blowing that breath out for actually a little bit longer, count of 8. So this one gets you a little deeper into the breathing. Some people find that starting with the 4 square breathing and working their way up to the 4-7-8 breathing is kind of a good step up method, because it's, again, we're not used to breathing that deep, right, and slow. And so with these, like the meditation, you can do them for as short or as long as you want. The goal is just to take a second and stop, focus your mind on your breathing to calm everything down, right? Okay, so hopefully you've got 1 or 2 new strategies to try for those daily mental health habits. Now, to wrap up, I promised we would revisit when it might be time to see a professional. So I want to start with this, though. Anyone and everyone can benefit from talking to a mental health professional on a regular basis. The preventative route is never a bad idea, but I understand there may be some other barriers to seeking help as well. So some recommendations that I got from the American Psychological Association are on here. So they suggest considering therapy when something causes distress and interferes with some part of your life. So specifically, when thinking about or coping with the issue takes up at least an hour a day, the issue causes embarrassment or makes you want to avoid others, the issue has caused your quality of life to decrease, the issue has negatively affected school, work, relationships, or you've made changes in your life or developed habits to cope with the issue. And then some specific feelings and physical symptoms to be mindful of. Overwhelm, so too many things or too many issues to cope with. Fatigue, sleeping more than usual or having trouble getting out of bed can accompany mental health concerns. Disproportionate rage, anger, or resentment. Everyone feels angry at times, right? But if it's not passing, it may be a sign of something more serious. Agoraphobia, that is people with agoraphobia fear being in places where they might experience panic attacks or feel trapped. Just anxious or intrusive thoughts. Again, it's normal to worry about things from time to time, but when it starts to take up a significant part of your day or causes physical symptoms, therapy can help you deal with that. Apathy and hopelessness, just losing interest in the usual activities, the world around you, losing motivation. Again, these things are normal throughout the course of your life, right? We're going to have ups and downs, but if it persists, it can indicate a need for additional support. And then social withdrawal. Now that we're able to see each other in some capacity, again, in a lot of cases, if you still feel that you can't be around people, it might be something to pay attention to. And then just to end today, please know that there are so many resources out there, no matter what type of help you may need. You can check to see if your employer has an employee assistance program. You can check with your doctor, or these 2 links, which I'm going to include on the blog post. They have lots of different areas depending on, again, what your need is. You can check out. But I really encourage you, again, if you feel like you need additional assistance, please reach out. I want you to think about that comparison again. If your knee hurts and you can't get rid of it, you're going to ask for help, right? This is the same thing. If something hurts, if something doesn't feel right, you may need extra help. Bottom line, everyone should be as healthy as they can be in every way possible. And that includes mental health. So focus on some daily goals, some small things that you can do, and reach out if you need additional support. You deserve it. All right, that's it. May is Mental Health Awareness Month too, in case you guys weren't aware of it. But that's all I've got for today. So if you need to take off, it's exactly 12:30 Central Time. Otherwise, I'm going to go over the upcoming webinars, and I'll stick around for a few minutes if there are any questions. But here's what we've got next month, June already, Changing Your Health for Good, just some small, simple things that you can do for your health. And then July is rethinking favorite foods, finding kind of different substitutions for some maybe not as good foods. And then if your company does have lifestyle rewards questions, these are going to be the questions that will be up there. Again, majority of companies do not have this. You can just submit that you watched it. But if you do have questions, these are going to be what they are. And then, of course, here's our contact information. Like I mentioned, we're going to have some links on the webinar recording, and that's going to be on this blog in the middle here, the healthcheck360.com/blog. We are on social media. We always share lots of good things. For Mental Health Month, we're going to be sharing a lot of good tips and things, so stay tuned for that. And then if you're looking for additional support from us, you can give us a call or email us, and we'd be more than happy to chat and set you up with a health coaching call. So with that, I'm going to stop on my recording, but I'm going to stay on and see if there's any questions.